Okay, our next topic in object-oriented programming is private versus public attributes. And following the principles of encapsulation, as I've said before, you want the user to access attributes via class methods rather than accessing them directly. This allows you to do data validation, etc., with the values that a user is trying to set to the object. You can force the user to access attributes through methods rather than directly by making those attributes private. And Python doesn't truly have a private attributes model like C++ or Java does, but you can nearly get there. And the way that you do that is you create so-called private attributes by prepending 2 underscores to the name. For example, instead of an attribute self.weight, I have a self.__weight. And then no more than 1 appended underscore, otherwise Python interprets that different. Then it's starting to look like a magic special method. So here we have I've defined a class A, which has an attribute underscore num that is set in the constructor, and a class B where I have an attribute which inherits from A and adds an attribute double_name. Now in this case, since I use a single underscore, num is not going to be a private attribute, whereas because I use a double_name, that will be a private attribute. So let's create some instances of these. So I create an instance of A, an instance of B, and then I print num, and num is set to 1, the default, the keyword default value in the constructor. So as I said, num is just a normal attribute. If I now try to print these values, so for the class instance B, I can access num, which it inherits from A and is just a regular attribute. But when I go to print double_name, I get an attribute error that the B object has no attribute name, which seems kind of strange because right up here we defined an attribute self.double_name in our class definitions. Well, what's going on? Is it there? I can use the get name to actually get the name. Well, so what Python is doing is it's using what's called name mangling to obscure the name. So there's no longer double_name isn't actually private. If I know what I'm doing, I can access it. What Python does is it creates a new variable. Instead of creating an attribute double_name, it creates an attribute which is a single underscore class name, in this case would be B, and then concatenated with the attribute name, which is the double_name. And so here you see that I can actually directly access it with using the underscore B double_name, which is the new name that Python gave the object. So it's not truly private, but it would get kind of discourage lazy access to the attribute. And if the user is doing it by creating these so-called private attributes, you're really letting them know that you really don't want them to be doing that and that there's better ways to be doing it. So here I got to fix this because I split my notebook up. So let's see which one I want. Okay, I want to inherit from person 3. So I've got to paste this into my notebook. So patiently wait with me here for a second. And then that needs person. So let me come back up here and copy my person class. Okay, let's evaluate these. Okay, we got our patients. All right. Why am I even doing this? It's what happens when I don't look over in detail all my notebooks before I start recording this. So this was actually just an illustration of these private attributes. And so creating these private attributes really makes for cleaner use of the code. So if I were here in person and we're following these principles, I would want to make these private attributes like so. Let's just do sex for now. And then if we come up here, let me insert a cell here. If I create a B equals patient, and I print sex, of course I don't get that. Do we have a, we don't have a get sex method, but if I print B, we'll see that it has the default value sex of female.